Thank you, Darcy. That was beautiful. Beautiful. So I have a question for you before I get started this morning. And that is, what was your first thought when you got up this morning? Your very first thought. And that means not your second thought. Not the moment you got out of bed. That very first thought before your feet ever hit the floor, before you checked your phone, before the day got its first word in. What was that thought? And as you're thinking about that, I just want to say it's so good to be back here and to see you again. And the weather, it may be a little cloudy, but it's 100 degrees at home, so I'm very happy to be here. Yeah. So anyway, back to that first thought, that very first thought. Now that you have it in your mind, was it something hopeful? Was it something grateful? Or was it a worry? Maybe a to-do list? I have a few of those. Or maybe a low-grade dread about something coming up today. Well, for most of us, if we're honest, we kind of tend toward the negative. And it's not because we're broken. It's not because we're pessimists. It's not because we tend to go that way, but it's because that is what we've always done. That was our brain's job to keep us alive. That's what helped our ancestors thrive. And without that tool, without it being able to do that, we wouldn't be here today. Because they needed to worry about, the poisonous snakes and the wild animals out there and, what path was safe and all of that. Unfortunately, our brains are still doing that today. So, an unguided brain will keep doing what it's always done, whether we need it to today or not. It scans for the threat, and it rehearses problems. And sometimes it wakes up already tired. Well, here's what I want you to sit with today. What if the quality of your entire day, maybe even the quality of your entire life, could be changed by something as simple as the thought you chose first thing in the morning? Something that simple. What if transformation wasn't years away, or a perfect life away, or even a healing away? What if it was just a thought away? Yeah. Charles Fillmore, our co-founder, taught something that was considered radical in his time and is now being confirmed by neuroscientists. Thoughts are things. Thoughts are things. The inner world actually shapes the outer world. Consciousness precedes condition. It's not wishful thinking. It's not pretending that hard things aren't hard, but it's a spiritual law. And it's as real and consistent as the law of gravity. I was going to drop some. Oh, I do have some. So, it's as consistent as the law of gravity. If I drop this cough drop, what's going to happen to it? It falls. And this law is just as consistent as that one. So, what we hold in mind, we tend to produce in our lives. What we focus on expands, and what we rehearse, we become. There's an old saying, and it has been attributed to a lot of different people, and it goes like this: watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. watch your character, it becomes your destiny. And as I said, it's been attributed to a lot of different people, to Gandhi, to Lao Tzu, but actually the saying is closest to someone, which I think is kind of humorous, Frank Outlaw. And Frank Outlaw wasn't really an outlaw, that just happened to be his name, and he was a CEO in some company. And he's the one that it's most closely aligned with, but it speaks to everybody. It doesn't really matter who said it. You know, beautifully echoes a timeless, spiritual reality. That reality that is always true in the human experience that we are living right now. So the thoughts we choose, consciously, deliberately, with intention, are the bridge. We've heard that a lot. That was one of the first books I ever read when I was introduced to Unity. Change your thoughts, change your life. And it's still just as true as it was back then. Because, as Charles Fillmore says, thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Unity has also always taught affirmative prayer and affirmations not as magic spells. It would be nice if we had that little wand, but it's not a magic spell. But as the practice of aligning our minds with what is already spiritually true. So we're not trying to create something out of nothing. We're training ourselves to see what is already there. You know, I've been listening to a podcast lately by Mel Robbins. Some of you may have heard of her. She's a best-selling author and one of the most listened to podcasters in the world, right? And I was struck, just really deeply struck, by how much she and Charles Fillmore are saying the same thing, just from two different directions. Mel comes at it from neuroscience. And of course, Fillmore comes from it from the metaphysical aspect. Yeah. But Mel talks about how the brain's reticular activating system, it's a system of neurons that acts as a filter, deciding what your brain pays attention to out of the millions of pieces of information that bombard us in any particular moment. So we have so much information coming in, so many things that we would actually be frozen in space if we just tried to take in half of them. So our brain, based on what we've told it before, decides what it's going to let in or not. And we can train that. So a simple example, so you went out and you got a different car than the one you had previously. It's a different model and it's a different color. And then you notice as you're out driving around that you see that same make and color all over the place. Yeah? Well, it's a simple example, but it shows that we can train our brain to let what we decide to let in or not. So, you can tell your brain what to look for and it will find it. I like to tell mine to look for green lights. Yeah? And it doesn't happen every single time, but I would say it happens at least 90% of the time. Wow. And my husband calls it my green light mojo. So he likes it when I'm driving because we get more green lights than when he's driving. You know, Mel also talks about how your brain is highly suggestible first thing in the morning before the noise of the day sets in. If you're a gardener, you can think of that's the time the ground is most fertile. You know, that's when you want to plant those seeds. And you get to choose. And if you don't intentionally program your brain, guess what? It will get programmed for you by headlines, by worry, by old habitual thoughts. So Mel says garbage in, garbage out. You get to decide what you're going to put in your brain to start your day. Again, Unity says Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. It's the same truth, different language, and that's what I love about being in unity. We get to recognize the sacred everywhere, even in neuroscience podcast. You know, in most of Mel's popular episodes, she shares 8 phrases that she says to herself every morning. 8 simple sentences that take less than 2 minutes, and she says have the power to rewire your brain over time. And I've read different time links at different times that you need to do it, you know, like 21 days in a row to really create that new pathway in your brain. And then, of course, if you want to keep reaping those benefits, it's good to, you know, if it works, why not keep doing it, right? 2 minutes a day. 2 minutes. So I want to introduce all 8 to you today. And I have a handout afterwards, so you don't need to take notes. I'll have it because I really want you to practice it. You know, I love to give out homework. Come from an educational background. And to see them not just as self-help techniques, but to see them as spiritual practice. You don't need to write them down, as I said. I have this. Everybody gets one. But the first one I want to talk about, the first one is, today is going to be a great day. Now this is purposeful mind direction. You're not predicting the future. You're just instructing your brain where to look, right? And when your brain looks for a great day, guess what? It begins to find one. Yay! In unity terms, expectancy is a spiritual practice. What we expect, we tend to experience. So I am going to say it once, and then I would like you to say it with me. Today is going to be a great day. All right. So the next one is, not yet. The next one is, something cool is going to happen to me today. Yeah. We'll say it all together in a minute, but I just want to say a little bit more about it first. So this one opens us up to possibility. It's an antidote to the closed, braced posture of dread, waiting for what, you know, the other shoe to drop. That saying. Well, this changes that energy. Unity calls this the practice of divine expectation, a trust that good is always seeking to express itself in our lives. Good is always seeking to express itself in our lives, and that our job is to stay open to it. Because if we're not open, how can it get in? So now, let's say it together. Okay. Something cool is going to happen to me today. And the third one, no matter what happens, I can handle it. Yeah. This is spiritual resilience, not denial. It acknowledges that hard things come in our lives, in our human experience, but a deeper knowing that we have access to a strength greater than our own. As Paul writes, I can do all things through Christ which strengthened me. Unity would say, the same power that holds the universe together is available to me right now. So, the same power that holds the universe together is available to me right now. After all, you are part of that universe. Last time I was here, we talked about everyone is a piece of God made manifest. So you have access to that power. So let's say that one together. No matter what happens to me today, I can handle it. The fourth one. An exciting new chapter in my life is starting today. Yeah. Every morning is a new beginning. Unity's teachings of the ever-present now. This is all we really have, right? This moment, right now. That this moment is always a fresh start. We can always begin anew. It's never contaminated by what came before. In other words, our past, what didn't work. That's not a part of it unless we bring it ourselves, right? So Lamentations says it beautifully. His mercies are new every morning. Today is not yesterday. Today is new. So let's say that one together. An exciting new chapter in my life is starting today. Yeah, not tomorrow, but today. Today, yeah. So this next one, I think it's really important for everybody to hear. Really listen. I need to give myself more credit for how hard I'm trying. And the reason why this one really moved me is because so many of us are our own harshest critics. You know, we measure ourselves by our failures and overlook our faithfulness. This phrase is an act of self-compassion, and we find it so much easier to be compassionate with others, but we forget to use that same for ourselves. So self-compassion. And Unity teaches that we cannot love our neighbor until we've really learned how to love ourselves. So let's say that one together. I need to give myself more credit for how hard I am trying. Another one. I am allowed to be a work in progress. I am allowed to be a work in progress. Charles Fillmore says that we are always spiraling upward, always. And that we're not broken, we're not finished, but we're becoming. This is one of Unity's most liberating teachings. We don't have to be perfect to be worthy. We are already expressions of the divine, growing into the fullness of what we already are. We don't have to work to be worthy. We don't have to do anything else to be worthy. We already are. So let's say that one together. I am allowed to be a work in progress. All right, number 7. If I keep showing up, life will reward me. And I will share just a little bit about why this one is so important. It's the faithfulness, that consistency. It's the long game of spiritual practice. Not every prayer is answered on our timetable. Anybody else ever experienced that? Not on your? And I find it interesting. I've known people who have come into Unity and they've been there for a couple of months, and they kind of learned a little bit about affirmations and denials, and they think they got it all. And then they come in and they say, you know, I've tried this stuff and it just doesn't work. Yeah. It works when we work it, and it doesn't always work on our timetable. Not every seed bears fruit overnight. But Unity teaches that we live in a universe of divine order, and that right action, consistently offered, always produces good when we keep showing up. So it's that time of holding that faith in the times of uncertainty, holding that faith when we think the prayer should have been answered a week or 2 or 3 ago. Yeah, that's what this is about. And I know some of you out there are thinking now, why don't we have our permanent minister yet? It should have happened already. We should have one. But it's coming. It's this time of staying in that place of faith and knowing that what you're seeking, who you are seeking, is seeking you. And when the doubts come in, just to come back to that, to keep the faith and the consistency. And when the timetable is in alignment with whoever it is that you're seeking, it'll all come together. So that's what that's about. And sometimes when you have things going on in your life, and I'll speak personally, when I've had things going on in my life and I wanted it, yesterday or a week ago, and I'm starting to wonder if it's going to happen, and it's a little bit more difficult to stand, really firm on that faith. That's when the time when I call someone to get my name added to the prayer list. I'd send it out to the prayer team, or I call Silent Unity, or I do both. The power of prayer is amazing. So when you have challenges standing firm in that, then reach out and have somebody else hold that truth for you. Yeah. So let's do it together. Number 7. If I keep showing up, life will reward me. And then last, but definitely not least, I have an important contribution to make to this world. And this is one that I think every single person in here, in my opinion, really needs to take in. Because you were not born by accident. You are here on purpose, with gifts that are uniquely yours, in a time and place that specifically needs what you carry. Your contribution matters. Not someone else's version of your contribution, but yours. You are the best person being you. No one else can be you quite the same way you do you. See? And there's a lot of times we make contributions and we don't even realize we're doing it. Sometimes it's something as simple as smiling to somebody. I think last time I was here I shared the story about the homeless man, and we had an assignment on a seminar that I was taking to talk to somebody who was homeless. And when we did, he was so taken back because he said, everybody talks to my dog, but no one talks to me. And so just by talking to that person, we made a difference. And there's a story for those of you who remember Chicken Soup of the Soul, those books. Yeah. There was a story in there about a student that was walking home, and he had his arms full of all of his books. And as he was walking along, some fell. And another student saw it and went to help him and help pick him up. And they got to talking and come to find out the reason why he had so many books with him is that he cleaned out his locker and he was planning on committing suicide. And by that one person taking time to help him and to connect with him, he changed his mind. So it doesn't have to be something big and amazing like Mother Teresa or Gandhi, but it's living our life and just that smile, that opening the door for somebody. And for me, coming from a place that doesn't have so much traffic, when somebody lets me in, I bless them. Yes. Simple kindness, that compassion makes such a huge difference in people's lives. What it says to them is that you matter. And that feels good to everyone, right? Mm-hmm. So just get it, that who you are and how you show up in this world, that you are making a contribution. No one else can do it like you. No one is in that exact place like you. And you never know what small thing that you may do can make a huge difference. And actually, like that student, save their life. And I know here all of you make a contribution when you come in, because we co-create this service together. You bring your energy and your consciousness, and that's why when I am up here and I look out at you, it feels so good, because of what you bring, because you matter. All right. Everybody got that now? All right, let's affirm it together. I have an important contribution to make to the world. So they're all up there now, and what I would like you to do is just kind of look at them. Not spend a whole lot of time, but just look and see if there's one that really jumped out at you and you're like, yes, yeah, this is the one for me. And then maybe there's one, and you can just keep it yourself for now, and we can talk about it more during fellowship time. But if there's one that's like, no, that's not the one I want to go for. But just take a moment. Which one moved you deeply? Which one did you resist? And which one did you feel like you most wanted to hear? So, and like I said, we'll talk about it during fellowship time. So we'll just pause for just a second to let you get it. And then just know that that's yours. And that's where the invitation lives for you right now. You know, Mel Robbins says that you can do all 8 of these in 2 minutes or less. Before you pick up your phone, before the news, before the email, before anyone else's needs land on you. 2 minutes. First thing in the morning. Choosing your thoughts on purpose. Planting your seeds for your day. And Unity would add, when you do this as a spiritual practice, when you offer this up to the divine, not just to your brain, as an act of alignment with truth, something even deeper happens. You are not just programming your reticular activating system. I like that word. You are opening yourself to the movement of spirit. You are saying, I am available. I am expecting good. I trust the life that is unfolding through me. Transformation doesn't always come in a flash of lightning. Sometimes it comes one morning at a time, one thought at a time, slowly and surely, rewiring us into people we barely recognize. Yeah. People who are more hopeful, more resilient, more open, more alive. It's not years away. It's not a perfect life away. It's just a thought away. So take your card home. We'll pass these out later. Put it somewhere where you'll see it first thing in the morning, even when you're on vacation. Yeah, and tomorrow before you do anything else, read it out loud just once and see what happens. And remember, one thought can change the direction of a day. Enough days can change a life. It's just a thought away. Thank you, and bless every one of you exactly as you are.